Hi guys, I'm meteorologist Megan Parry. I've got some light here in the background. There we go. We're going to be talking about El Nino. A lot of people have been asking, it's one of the strongest El Ninos ever, and where's the rain that we've been expecting? Well, before we even got into the strength of, typical strong El Nino season during the winter months, we did mention that El Nino really doesn't promise anything, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But I first want to show you where the rain is, because even though we're in a strong El Nino and we haven't seen a ton of rain in February, we got a lot of rain at the beginning of January, but you may recall that we had several wet months even before that. So I'm going to flip this around and just bring you over to my graphics. Sorry if that made you a little dizzy. So as far as strong El Nino rains go, so we're looking at the 2015-2016 season, and then also 1982, 83, and 1997 and 83. And you can see that since October 1st, which is when our water year began, which is when we measure the year as far as rain goes, we've actually picked up a little over 6 inches, which is more than the previous last two very strong El Nino years. In February, look at this, in 1997, over 7.5 inches of rain fell in February. I guess that would be 1998. And almost 4 inches fell just in the month of February in 82, 83. And look at this, in March, almost a little over 6.5 inches in the 82, 83 year, and a little over 2 inches in 97, 98. So we still have a long way to go. El Nino is not over. El Nino has peaked, but we're actually just getting into the peak of when we actually get the impacts from El Nino as far as rain and as far as snow goes. So what is El Nino? Well, it's warming of the sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific. You can see right here, this is an anomaly of where the warmer water is right here. So we're still in a very strong El Nino. But keep in mind, we only have a couple of really strong El Ninos to compare. If you're a scientist and you're collecting data, or you're a doctor and you're doing a study and you only have 2 case studies to look at, it's really not going to be really good. So even though we are in a really strong El Nino, we don't have a ton of research to compare this to. However, the amount of warm air that is present during especially a really strong El Nino really allows for the potential for a lot of storms to be there. And that's what's actually happened in the Pacific Northwest. And the UT actually just released a paper, the UT just released a paper saying that we actually need the El Nino to weaken. It's actually so strong that it's actually pushed the storms up into the Pacific Northwest, which was what we've been seeing actually all winter long, a very active jet stream in the Pacific Northwest, bringing them a lot of rain and a lot of snow as well. So as this system weakens, the jet stream should shift south, and as the jet stream shifts south, we should be able to get more storms. Now, there's a couple other things. I'm going to actually take you back to this graphic really quickly so you can see if you missed it, because this is a big one. I think graphically shows you that so far we've seen more rain in our water year than we have in the previous 2 strong El Ninos. So some of the takeaways, I want you to keep that in mind, that even though we haven't gotten a lot of rain in February, we actually still get Santa Anas during the winter months. Actually, Santa Ana season is the winter months, so December through February. So even though we are seeing Santa Anas right now, weak to moderate offshore flow, that's what we actually typically see during the winter months. So this is pretty typical, even though it's, we're seeing record heat. This is pretty normal for Southern California. And actually in the last 2 strong El Ninos, which you can clearly see here in February and March, that's actually when most of the rain came, even into April. However, March looks like it's going to be the big one as far as rainfall, at least the best chance for some significant rainfall to come. So El Nino is not over. The potential for significant rainfall still exists, but each winter has different patterns and different impacts. So even though the chances for above normal rainfall, it doesn't guarantee it. But don't give up hope yet. No, El Nino is not over. We're actually just getting into the peak of when we see the impacts from El Nino storm. There's my little cheat sheet right here. I wrote myself some notes so that I could help you guys out, and I don't want to miss anything because there is a lot to go over. Again, keep in mind that we only have 2 strong El Ninos to compare this to. And actually, months before we even got into the winter months, I did an El Nino special, and it was ironic. I actually wore this same dress. So this is officially my El Nino dress, because apparently every time I do an El Nino talk, I'm going to be wearing this dress. But we've actually had droughts start in El Ninos. Our last wet season was actually a La Nina, which was right before our historic 4-year drought began. So even if we get above normal rainfall, it's really not enough. We've had 4 years of drought. There's just so much more rain that we need. So even if we do get it, it's not going to end the drought here, but it is helping out. I'll show you that. I'll show you where our drought has been. It's really cool. So far for the water year. So this is where we started the year out. You can see this dark right here is the worst that it can be. Exceptional drought here in San Diego. We're in extreme and severe drought, and then we're going to play this through. You can actually see most of the improvement has been, oh, this didn't play. Most of the improvement has been in the Pacific Northwest, where the jet stream has just kind of been anchored over, bringing them so much rain. So we have seen improvement mainly up here in the northern Sierras as far as the exceptional drought goes. But again, we have a long way to go before we're going to see this drought end, and it's not going to happen this year. Now also keep in mind that El Nino is forecast to stick around through spring and then weaken as we head into late spring and winter, and then turn into a neutral ENSO, which is what we had right before. So El Nino tends to bring above normal rainfall. La Nina typically doesn't, and neutral ENSO really kind of if it could happen or it could not happen, basically. So we kind of need to get as much out of this one as we can. So I know a lot of people have been saying, where's the rain? Well, March is what we're really hoping for. And in fact, check this out. So I made this graphic. The Climate Prediction Center, I'm going to flip this around for you guys. The Climate Prediction Center, they do temperature and precipitation outlooks. Look at this. This is February 20th through March 4th. They are forecasting above normal rainfall to fall, here you go, in Central California and Southern California, which, if we take a look at what El Nino typically brings, I'm going to fast forward this, that's what we typically see right there during El Nino. So we're really looking for March especially to bring that rain. Again, it doesn't guarantee it, but it does up the odds for that potential to be there. If you guys have any questions, I know a lot of people, you guys are watching and adding comments. This is only my second time ever doing this, so I really appreciate any feedback that you guys have. And if you want to ask any questions, feel free. I'll try and answer it. But the biggest thing is that no, El Nino's not over, and what El Nino typically brings is a southerly dip in the jet stream. So we don't necessarily see stronger storms, but we definitely see more storms. But this probably looks familiar. This is what we've basically seen all winter long. We've seen the jet stream farther to the north, which is more typical for a La Nina or a normal or neutral year for California in the winter months. So we haven't really seen this pattern. In January, the first week in January, that's when we saw that pattern. We really haven't seen it since then. But as I was saying earlier, for anybody that just joined in, March is when we typically get the most rain, and the UT just did a great article saying that, you know, it's actually just, it could be just too strong of an El Nino. So the warm air has actually been pushed farther north. So all the warm air and all the moisture is farther to the north up here, and we've kind of just been left out to dry. And we've been actually seeing, you know, a weak to moderate Santa Ana event for the last week or so, and we're going to continue to see it for the next week. Does look like we could see some rain at some, but even that rain is not the typical rain that we see in El Nino events. So we really haven't seen El Nino materialize the way that we saw it in the last two strong El Ninos. But again, we only have two strong El Ninos to compare this to, so there's really a really small sample pool looking at that. So that's pretty much it. We're going to continue this talk on midday, on 10 News midday. It's going to be in our second half hour around 11:40 or so. If you guys wanted to join in, or if you have any questions that you come up with between then and now, I'd be happy to answer them. And you know, they might be really good questions that I haven't thought of, and I'd love to be able to answer that on air as well. We're also going to be talking about the record heat and what areas could break records. That will actually be pretty much right after our midday show starts at 11 a.m. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you found it interesting and useful. So the big takeaways, El Nino is not over. We still have hope. There's still several months to go. And in fact, March and even into April could be our wettest time period. And the Climate Prediction Center, as I was showing you, does have an above normal rainfall forecast for us at the end of February starting into March. All right, thank you guys so much, and yeah, I'll see you on TED News Midday.